Continue to speak today on anxiety, God, and me. And what I found really interesting is from last week's message, the amount of people who came up to me and said, Jim, I'm feeling it. I understand what you're talking about. I'm really going through anxiety. But a few months ago, I was talking with somebody and they were going through a really hard, anxious time. And I phoned them, I spoke to them. And they said these words to me, Jim. They said, I felt all alone. They said, I tried to phone you. I tried to phone some other people. But at the time, I think I was on a run or something. I couldn't quite answer the phone. And someone else said I couldn't answer the phone. And they felt all by themselves. And in that moment, when they spoke to me, my heart broke. Now, I did nothing wrong. I was busy during the time when they tried to phone me. But when I heard the pain in the voice of that friend of mine who was sharing about what they were going through, I thought, I've got to make sure that I'm there for people who are struggling. Because I remember a few years ago when I had a really, really bad bout of anxiety. I've shared about it before, when I ended up with a doctor's surgery. And someone said to me, who are you going to talk to, Jim? And at the time, I felt so much shame in my life that I didn't want to talk to anybody. I'd sort of isolated myself so that so I didn't have anyone close to me. And the thing that I've learned is that when people are feeling anxious, they need other people, don't they? They need people around them to support them and love them. I was really struck by a headline this week. It's on Stoke-on-Trent Live. And I think the headline was there to catch you, so you clicked on the link. But it said this: woman pays £300 to get over her fear of normal life after lockdown. And the caption went on to say this. It said, Aima, I think is how you say her name, felt anxious about everything from socializing to commuting after so long working from home. And this lady, she basically was struggling so much that she had to pay someone, a coach, to help her get back into society, to help her to overcome the anxiety she was feeling. Now you can imagine what the comments were like, can't you, on Facebook when this headline was on there? The trolls and the comments that were there. But when I read this, I was sad. Because I thought, how have we come to a place in society where we have to pay people to encourage us, to support us, to help us get out again? And if you read the full story of this lady, she needed someone just to say, it's okay, you can do the exercise classes, it's okay, you can do this, to meet her out in a cafe to help her overcome her anxiety. And I thought, isn't that what friends are for? And I kept thinking to this, isn't that what we should be doing as a church? Isn't that what we should be doing as Christians for each other? That when people are feeling anxious, we should be supporting them. But sometimes, as Christians, we can behave like internet trolls. We can ridicule people, we can mock them, we can put them down. And this doesn't help. You know, guys, we need to help people come out of a dark place. I think I've shared with some of you before in a previous talk. When I was younger and I had a few issues when I was about 17, 18. And one of them was when I was suffering from bulimia. And I remember telling someone about it, and they said to me, Jim, we'll get this girly problem out of you. I was like, oh my goodness, that pushed me further down. And we can do the same reaction with anxiety. Guys, I think we need to be there for people, to support them, to encourage them. Especially the way in our country at the moment, coming out of lockdown. We need to be there for people. Not just saying, get on with it, but saying, come on, you can do it. And I believe that as Christians, rather than trying to change other people, the difference we can make in those around us lives is when we change ourselves. I love this. If you follow me on Instagram, you will see me put this quote on a few weeks ago. I love this quote by Thomas à Kempis. It says these words: "Be not angry that you cannot make others as you wish them to be, since you cannot make yourself as you wish to be." Isn't that true? How many times you try to change someone else and you worked out, hang on a minute, I'm the one who needs to change instead? Does anyone know what I'm talking about? I certainly know it. I love this quote. So what can we do ourselves to help others? So last week I shared, if you were here, or if you're not here, and you can check it out on the internet, it's available on our website and on our YouTube channel and Facebook. We talk about how perfect love casts out all fear. And to start being free from anxiety starts by strapping yourself to God, by getting hold of God. You know, we can't always stop anxiety ourselves, but God's love can drive out anxiety. And as we start living in this new world, a new way of doing things, I believe that love is going to be important. I can feel like starting to sing there. All you need is love. Okay, and going along there. But I know you need a bit more than love sometimes. You need to be practical. I like what Brenda's dancing there. I'm loving it. Okay, it's brilliant. You know, but we need love. It comes down to it. But I'm not talking about mushy love. I'm not talking about love that you send a Valentine's Day card love, okay? I'm talking about a real strong love. A love is a powerful thing. You know, Jesus gave this command in Matthew 22. He says this: "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like this: love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments." And I believe, reading this passage here, and I believe what Jesus said, that loving God is important. Can we say that together? Loving God is important. In fact, it's essential. I believe it's the reason we were created, was to have a relationship with God. God loves us, we love him. That is our motivation. You know, the only reason we have the capacity to love is because God loves us, and he made us in his image. This is what Erwin McManus, a pastor in Los Angeles, I love reading this guy, I'm reading quite a lot of his stuff. It says this: it is not about this passage. It is not love God, then love yourself, then love others. It is love God and love others as yourself. It's a command to give yourself away, to take the focus off yourself and make others the focus of your life. There is a difference between loving yourself and being in love with yourself. When you have a relationship with God, you have a healthy sense of yourself. And this is really, really important here, okay, guys? I want you to catch this bit. Out of your relationship, it's really important, out of your relationship with God, you realize that you are not the center of the universe. Out of your relationship with God, you realize you're not the center of the universe, but you realize that you are loved and you are secure in his love. You know, the creator of the universe loves you. Can we say this together? God loves me. God loves me. He loves you. You're valued. You can love yourself. But the problem comes when we don't know that we're loved, or if we're in love with ourselves. You know those people who are in love with themselves? You know the ones? They sort of go everywhere and everything's absolutely perfect and they think they're the world's best. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, we all know those. Then we also have people who just don't love themselves. And both of those people, if you don't know that you're loved and you're insecure and you think you have to earn people's love all the time, or you think that everyone should love and adore you, they both lead to insecurity and anxiety, which leads to hurt. And we all know that hurt people hurt people. You see, when you're in a content place in God's love, when you know that God loves you, when you're content with where you are, it's an amazing thing. You have an effect on the people around you. You know, there's sort of people that you meet, and there's not many of them, but there's a few of them. You know, the ones who are just happy with who they are? You know, the ones who aren't trying to impress you? They just relax you. The people are just happy in their own skin. They're happy with life. They have such an effect on people around you. They're just absolutely brilliant. They're selfless. They just care about other people. They're not judgmental. But in the same way, they bring change to those around them. I want to be like that. But as we come out of lockdown into this new world, whatever form it takes, we're going to struggle to help other people through anxiety and to love other people if we don't love ourselves, or if we're in love with ourselves. So here it is. You can imagine in a few weeks' time, even now, have anyone had that awkward moment? You know when Boris Johnson said you could hug people? I'm not going to ask you who you've hugged, okay? Because I don't want to know. I'm not too worried. But you've always got that moment. You know when you're going for a hug? Like for me, you know, at times, even before lockdown, people would try and go for a hug from me, and I used to try and sidestep them. You know, they're sort of like, I don't want to hug. And you get those some people, and they're desperate to hug you, and I'm like, get lost. And I felt like giving them a good kick, you know, sort of get lost sort of attitude there. But you know, we've got this moments where we're going to come out of this, and we're going to have to try and work out who we can hug again, who's comfortable with a hug, who's a bit anxious with a hug, who wants a handshake, who doesn't want a handshake. All this complication in the world, isn't it, at the moment? And it's all going to go crazy. So what happens now is this. If you are a person who doesn't love yourself and you are not content in God's love, when you put your hand out for someone to shake your hand, if they say no because they're feeling anxious, you think it's because that person doesn't like you. And you get offended. Do you understand what I'm saying? And then you put that person on edge, and you're put on edge. Or if you're a person who loves yourself, you know the ones that always think they're right, okay? And they think the world revolves around them. When you put your hand out to shake someone's hand and they're feeling anxious and they don't want to shake your hand, you think to yourself, oh, they're stupid. Why don't they want to hug my hand? I'm perfect. I'm amazing. Surely they want to hold my hands. If you're in love with yourself, you can't understand why they don't want to hug you or shake your hand. But when you're secure, when you're okay with God's love and you know that God loves you and you're in a happy place, when someone tries to shake you, someone doesn't want to shake your hand, you go, that's fine. It's okay. You respect them. You put them at ease. You know, in the same way, when you're if you think the world revolves around you and you ask your friend to go out for a meal with you and your friend says no, your automatic reaction is they're stupid again, okay? It's always the reaction for that. Why don't they want to come out with me? What's wrong with them? Okay, I'm the brilliant, I want to come. And you build up that anxiety again. You don't help them. If you don't love yourself and you think yourself's really bad and you ask your friend to go out, but your friend's too anxious to leave the house, when they say no to you, you turn around. If you don't love yourself, you sort of go, what's wrong with me? Why don't they like me? What's happened? But when you know you're loved by God and you're secure in your love, you say to yourself, my friend doesn't want to come out for lunch with me, not because there's anything wrong with me, not because they're a bad person, but because they're anxious. And you think to yourself, how can I help them? Guys, you know what? Being secure in God's love is really important if you want to help people who are anxious around you. There's a New York pastor called John Tyson, and he says this: we don't work for blessing, we work from blessings. We don't work for blessings, we work from blessings. And I love that quote. It's one of my favorite quotes of this year. But I want to just take that a bit further. When we're helping people through anxiety, we don't work for love, we work from love. Can we say that together? When we're helping people through anxiety, we don't work for love, we work from love. Guys, if we want it in this world that so many people are anxious, if we're trying to just change everybody, it's not going to work. if we're feeling insecure ourselves and we don't feel loved ourselves, or we think everyone should love us, we're going to struggle. But when we're content in God's love, we're going to love other people. So, I'm not going to be too much longer, don't worry. How does love show itself? Love is this. The way that love shows itself to people around us is this. Love is patient. When others are struggling with anxiety, we don't rush them. We gently get alongside them. If they're not ready to go to the pub with you, respect that. If they're not ready to sit in the church building with you, respect that. If they don't want to have a hug, respect that. If they don't want to be right in their face, respect that. You may be ready, but they might not be ready. Love is patient. Don't expect everyone to move at the same pace as you. It's nothing to do with you. Don't feel threatened. Just be patient. Number 2, love is kind. As I've shared already, everyone's journey is different. Okay, some people are desperate for lockdown to end. Okay, they're like, oh, we want all the rules gone. Some people want lockdown to happen forever. Okay, some people want to stay in their house and never want to leave their house again. Other people want to run out. Okay, we're all different. Be kind to each other. Don't shout at someone because it's different to you. Love is not proud. You know, don't think that you're better than somebody else because you're less anxious than anybody else. Everyone's on a different journey. Love is not self-seeking. It's the funny one. You know, when someone gets anxious, you speak to someone with anxiety. Sometimes you can make it about yourself when you're talking to your friend. Don't try and take all the attention onto you. You know, when you got those people who, when you say, I'm really, really struggling, you know, like this, you're sort of going, oh, I'm really struggling. I've hurt my leg. You know, my leg's really sore. And they turn around and go, well, I've got 2 legs that are sore. You know what I mean by that? The people are always trying to grab the attention. Don't be like that. Number 5, love never gives up. When people are anxious, we can't give up on them. We need to keep loving them and keep going. Number 6, love is always hopeful. You know, when people are struggling with anxiety, they lose hope. As a pastor the last few months, I've had so many people who have been struggling, who have been losing hope at times. And when they're feeling anxious, we need to keep showing them hope. Keep saying God is there. Keep the hope going in their lives. And the final one here is love endures through every circumstance. Guys, we know when your friends are struggling with anxiety, when other people in church are struggling with anxiety, sit with them, endure it with them, listen to them with empathy, not sympathy. But we don't give up on them. We endure through this because they're going to make it to the other side. And guys, as we do this, we will show people the love of God. And these are such simple steps. And if you know the Bible, you will know that's a description of love that Paul says in 1 Corinthians. So as we go forward, you know, I always like to be practical, okay? I like to have as practical steps for us as we finish. So if you've got your little cards in front of you here, you can scan the barcodes with your smartphone and it will take you through to the website with some sheets to help you this week, to encourage you. If you're not on the internet, you can pick one up on the front here, okay, to take away with you. There's a little sheet on the front here, but there's the resources. But I want to just, if you're listening on the internet, okay, there's a little link below you or above you, depending where you're listening to it, and you can download it. Or go to burslem.org.uk/anxiety, God and me. I feel like a TV presenter when I do that. Okay, so here's the practical things we can do. Number 1, this week, we show people that we love them by giving them time. So if you know someone who's struggling with anxiety, who is feeling really anxious at the moment, give them time. Be generous with your time. So if you download if you get the app, if you download the link here, it's got who can I share my time with this week. So give them some time. It might be texting a friend. It might be phoning a friend. It might be inviting a friend for a cup of coffee who's struggling, or another person who's struggling. Who can you be generous with your time for this week? Number 2, Has there been a situation when you've been anxious, but you've not reacted with love? Maybe your friend told you, I'm really scared about coming out of lockdown, and you've told them, don't be so stupid. That probably wasn't going to help them, was it really? Let's be honest. Maybe you wish you'd reacted differently. Do you know the definition of stupidity is doing the same thing over and over again? But guys, we need to be wise. So what I'd encourage you to do is, if you've had a time when you've spoken to someone badly and you wish you'd spoke differently next time, write it down on the sheet. There's space. When someone comes up to you and says, I'm anxious, what are you going to say to them? You might want to share a Bible verse with them. Plan it out. And the final thing is this, number 3. Owen McManus, that quote I read to you earlier, said this: when you have a relationship with God, you have a healthy sense of yourself. So I want to encourage you. This is an important one. If you're struggling with anxiety, or you're struggling because you think that you're unlovable, or maybe you're struggling the opposite. Maybe you love yourself and you know you love yourself a little bit too much. I want you to write down how you feel about yourself. A description of how you feel about yourself. Then next to it, write down a description of how you believe God sees you. And then I want you to do something quite brave, actually. I want you to go to either the website with fathersloveletter.com, or just look at the Bible and see if what you believe about yourself matches up with what God actually believes about you. Because you know, a lot of people, they think they're unlovable. They think that God just wants to judge them. They think God is up in heaven with a big stick ready to smack them over the head. But God loves you. Let's say this together. God loves me. Ready? 1, 2, 3. God loves me.